Hello, today I'm up in Scotland, Glencoe to be more specific, on the A82, heading to do the Skyfall Road on my Enfield 350 Meteor. Meteor? Sounds a bit posh. Meteor. 350 Meteor. Something like that anyway. I just wanted to give a few thoughts on this bike. Only recently purchased it, literally less than 2 months ago. I bought it from a Royal Enfield dealer in Glasgow, or well, just outside of Glasgow, AMR Motorcycles. Quite impressed with them, to be honest. Just pulling onto the so-called Skyfall Road with Buchel Atif Moor in the distance there. Probably the most iconic mountain in the sort of Glencoe region for me. It's absolutely stunning. Stunning piece of rock. I actually climbed that last year. I got a video out on my YouTube channel. But that was quite an experience. Rope job, hired a guide, went up a route called Curved Ridge, which is an awesome experience. A little bit dangerous, but highly recommended if you ever get the chance to do it. I'm not sure of the exact name of this road. Not even sure it's got an exact name, to be honest, but everybody knows it as the Skyfall Road. Basically, the James Bond movie Skyfall, part of it was shot up here. I think it was some car chase scene. Something like that anyway. I don't rightly remember, to be honest, but I know it was definitely shot up here anyway. Well, I'm massively digressing, so I will get back to talking about what I'm meant to be talking about, which is the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. A bit of a disclaimer here. Over the last 40 odd years of owning motorbikes, the vast majority have been Japanese, Honda, Suzuki, Yamahas, with the odd smattering of a couple of Triumphs and a couple of BMWs. If somebody had said to me even 10 years ago that I would end up owning a Royal Enfield motorbike, I would have probably laughed at it. I'm not ashamed to admit I probably had a massive prejudice against them in terms of I seen them as shoddily made, cheap motorbikes. They were cheap, and they were cheap for a reason. Poor build quality, unreliable, just was not really interested in owning one. But I'll freely admit I kind of got it wrong. Looking at this bike, its build quality, it's up there now. It's up there with the Japanese and the German manufacturers. It really is. So what Royal Enfield have managed to do is build a high quality motorbike at substantially less cost than a lot of the Japanese and German bikes, for example. So the backstory goes something like this. My best mate lives up in Scotland. He's a little bit Scottish. I visit there pretty regularly now. Love going up there. But one thing I really wanted was to keep a second bike up there, so I could go exploring more. And to be honest, I wasn't really fussed what type of bike I was going to buy. Me two sort of prerequisites were I wanted something cheap and something that was going to be reliable. I'd even considered just buying a little 125. That would have probably been just about adequate. But after a little bit of research and soul searching, I came up with the Royal Enfield, and more to the point, the Royal Enfield Meteor, basically because it was so damn cheap. Initially, I had a short list of 3 bikes: the Royal Enfield Classic 350, the Hunter 350, and obviously the Meteor. But the first two bikes, much preferred them. I like the look of them much more. And to be honest with you, the Meteor was just, it was a very poor third. I just didn't really like the look of the bike going off the pictures. But because, again, getting down to cost, it was so much cheaper than the other two models, I thought, right, I'm going to go for that one. The Meteor normally comes in the UK anyway, just over £4,000, give or take. But like I said, I only paid just over £3,000 for this one. And I think the reason is Royal Enfield changed the way they imported the bikes. Long story short, there's a company called MotoGP who used to import the Royal Enfields. Royal Enfield don't do it that way anymore. I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but it's something like that. And I'm assuming the company MotoGP, GB rather, got stuck with a load of bikes, so hence they sold them off cheaply. These were just a couple of mad Scotsmen I'd met at the start of the road.
Oh, it's you!
Friendly people. Like I said earlier, the two main considerations in buying a motorbike to keep up in Scotland was the price, which I've already covered. I mean, £3,000. I mean, I was even considering buying an e-bike, and the e-bike I was looking at was actually more expensive than the Meteor I've just bought. So that just gives you an idea of the value for money which I'm getting. And reliability. Like I said again earlier, the build quality on this is really good. I've got no reason to believe it will be unreliable in any way, shape or form. Checking out the forums, owners' reviews, yes, like any other bike, there might be the odd issue here and there, but on the whole it seems a fairly reliable steed. And I know it's early days. I've covered just over 1,000 miles in 2 months on this bike, and it's been zero problems. Absolutely chuffed to bits with it, to be honest. I ended up taking a wrong turn here and going up this, well, best described as a forest track or a forest road. Done about 2 or 3 miles up here. And then I was accosted by some irate Scotsman who rapidly told me to turn around and bugger off, which I did. You don't argue with angry Scotsmen, believe me. And this said road, it's a lot more gravelly, steep and potholed than the GoPro actually shows. And the case in point here is I didn't feel out my depths on these roads at all, not on the little Enfield. It's so light and manoeuvrable and handles this absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever. I did actually ride a road far worse than this yesterday on the Meteor. Unfortunately, I didn't make a video of it. But my point here is, although the Meteor is certainly not marketed as a off-road bike, even somebody with meagre off-road ability like myself have the confidence to do it. When I had my GS 1200, fantastic bike in its own right, there's no way I would have considered doing some of these little roads, certainly not the one I done yesterday. Just too big and heavy. This, you don't have to have, a great deal of off-road ability. As long as you're careful, it'll handle it. My point being here, I guess, is less is sometimes more. Something like that, anyway. I remember back in June when I went to pick the bike up from the dealer. Often when you're picking up a brand new motorbike, you're really excited. It's going to be like the best day of your life. But it was quite a, melancholy experience for me. I wasn't really that sort of looking forward to it, to be honest. Probably because it wasn't my sort of first choice bike, the Meteor, and I wasn't really that excited about picking it up. But when I first seen it, I was kind of blown away, to be honest, especially in its green livery. It just looked absolutely awesome. Like I said earlier, the build quality, it just looked absolutely superb. The best analogy I can think of is years and years ago when internet dating was deemed a little bit weird. I'd been talking to this young lady on a couple of telephone conversations, seen a couple of photos, and we'd arranged to meet. And I wasn't really that excited about meeting her, didn't really fancy her that much. But when I turned up, she was drop dead gorgeous with loads of personality and character. I mean, she dumped me after a couple of weeks, but that's another story. But you get me point. So 1,000 miles in, I've covered loads of different types of roads, single track, a bit of off-road, fast sweeping roads, and even some motorways. Admittedly not the best on the motorway, but it's doable. So just coming to the end of the Skyfall Road here, and I bumped into this poor sod on his KTM 1290 adventure. Best part of 20 grand with a motorbike. And guess what? It broke down. Yeah, I rocks up on my 3 grand Enfield. He wasn't happy. But we did spent an hour actually trying to push the blooming thing. Wouldn't start, had to be towed away.
Any problems with that, do you?
You what, sorry?
You don't have any problems with that, do you?
Oh, I love it. No, it's good fun.
Mine's good fun, but it don't fucking work.
What's wrong with it?
It won't start.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you. What, just now?
Well, all this morning. It was fine yesterday. It started this morning, then it turned itself off and it hasn't gone since.
So I've done over 200 miles on the little Enfield today and absolutely loved every minute of it. I posed the question in the thumbnail, budget bargain or cheap trash? Well, an unequivocal answer to that, an absolute bargain. Just going to go and sit down by the lock. It is truly stunning down here. So yes, I do love this bike. I love the way it looks. I love its soulful engine. I love the way it handles. I love the way it's so unintimidating. I'm happy to take this pretty much anywhere. You know, I give zero shits that it's not the fastest bike in the world, that it's not the most modern. Maybe it's not even the coolest kid on the block. I simply don't care. The most important thing to me, it makes me happy and it makes me smile, and that's pretty important stuff. So that's it. I'm going to head on home now. Just riding behind this police car, and he's just pulled this dipstick who decided it would be a good idea to video while driving with a police car behind him. Not the cleverest thing he's done today.